Hey guys, what's up? I'm Noah, this is Analog Resurgence, and today I'm taking a look at Kodak's Portra 160 35mm film. Kodak Portra 160. Now Portra is one of Kodak's professional film stocks, and it's available in ISO 160, 400, and 800. And now each one is slightly different or better suited for different situations and has slightly different characteristics, but today I'm just taking a look at the 160 version of Portra. Now Portra 160 is a lower ISO color negative film available from Kodak, and it's available in 35mm, medium format, and large format film. Now because it's more of a higher quality film, it's designed to be used under daylight or indoors with nice bright studio lighting. And it's also designed in order to give you really nice natural looking tones, especially for skin tones, and especially if you're doing something like portraits, along with nice low saturation but plenty of detail in all of your shots. And it is a higher quality film from Kodak, as opposed to the more consumer-friendly and cheaper rolls like Kodak's Color Plus film. So it kind of is designed with the pro photographer in mind. So let's take a look at some of the samples of this roll and just go over some of the characteristics of it and what you kind of can expect when you're shooting a roll of Portra 160. So 160 is a nice low ISO, which means that you're gonna get some pretty fine-grained images. These shots look pretty smooth, and we get lots and lots of detail in them as well. So I set the light meter on my camera to ISO 100 to give it just a little bit of overexposure, which it does handle really well in order to bring out some shadow detail in the images. So when we do look at shots that have different lighting, you can see that it captures a nice wide range of information in the image, all the way from the brighter highlight areas across the midtones and into the darker areas as well. And overall, it's just a really well-rounded film for stuff like that. Now, just being outside in good light, we can see that the skin tones are looking nice and natural, and they really aren't too saturated at all. Using this film for things like portraits is one of its intended uses, so it's really meant to give you great looking shots of people. And in general, portrait isn't too saturated, and things are a little more neutral in shots with film like this in comparison to maybe something like Kodak's Color Plus, which is a much warmer film. So looking at things like the pavement here as reference, we see that things are pretty just natural looking, and there's not too much of a weird color shift or major kind of overbearing color characteristics of this film. Now, just like most color negative films, this stuff is daylight balanced. So shooting inside like this without proper lighting will give you a shifted color. This isn't too bad with Portra here, and it's flexible enough that a little bit of editing can kind of get things looking a little bit more natural. Relying on daylight, proper studio lights, or a camera's flash though will give you that kind of proper color balance, and you'll have to do kind of less editing to pull it back from weird color shifts. And of course, getting your exposure right definitely makes a huge difference. So underexposing a bit with Portra 160 definitely doesn't necessarily destroy the image, and it can help to kind of punch up the contrast if you want that in your image a little bit more, but you will quickly lose any of that shadow detail overall. Now on the other side of that though, you can overexpose this by a little bit and it will give you great results, but you never want to get too carried away with overexposing your color negative stuff. If you ever completely overexpose most color negative films by like a lot, then it can become a grainy, kind of blown out mess, like this as an example. It's always really important to be setting yourself up to properly shoot the film that you've got loaded into your camera. So setting your light meter to the proper ISO of the film that you've bought. So Portra 160 is a really nice film. It's got really nice grain, it's really easy to shoot, and it's got great color reproduction on it as well. And especially if you're looking for a great film to use in maybe an outdoor photo shoot or something like that, where you have a lot of nice natural light and you're photographing subjects of just different skin tones, then Portra 160 is a really good film for something like that. If you're in lower light though, then 160 maybe isn't necessarily the film for you to go with, and you're going to want to go with something with a higher ISO like 400 or 800. If you want to see more samples off of this roll and any of the rolls from the roll review videos in general, then all of the shots off of this roll are available over on the Analog Resurgence Patreon. You can find a link to that in the description of this video. You can also throw this stuff in point and shoot cameras and cheaper cameras, even if the camera isn't able to precisely detect 160 specifically as the ISO. A lot of them will round it to 100, which again is what I exposed this manually at in my SLR. And I've gotten some great looking results from Portra in just a cheaper handheld point and shoot camera that has just exposed it automatically. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as I continue to do all sorts of roll reviews on different types of films and all sorts of videos on other types of cameras and film formats, and just sort of what's available for people who are getting into shooting analog formats or who want to learn more about them, or ones that they don't know so much about. And if there's rolls that you want to see me shoot specifically on the video, or any sort of topics for the videos in general, then you can let me know in the comments down below on this video and any of the videos that you see on the channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.